She's not what you'd expect. She's tough and feisty, but gentle and tender. She makes millions and gives millions to the poor. She cries, she laughs, she teaches, she comforts. This is the Dani Johnson Show.
Hi, welcome to the Dani Johnson Show. We are very blessed that you decided to join us today. Today we are going to talk about a stumbling block that you might have in front of you. It's a sneaky one. It's one that you actually wouldn't even think to be a stumbling block. It's called perfection. Perfection has the ability to keep you stuck. You would think that would be the obvious. You would think it would be the opposite, that perfection might lead to success. But that's a huge lie. Check out this quote that my coworker Mary found. It's by Kim Collins, who's a world champion track and field athlete. She says, strive for continuous improvement instead of perfection. I used to be one of those people that, boy, was I just completely lassoed around my neck with that spirit, if you will, of perfection. You almost get to the place where you're afraid to do anything because you are afraid of making a mistake, or that you think it's not going to be perfect, so why should I even try? Is that where you have found yourself? Perfection is an attitude. It's rooted in pride, something that we think is a good thing, but it actually turns out to be a poison. It causes people to strive. It causes pain. It causes a different kind of suffering, a suffering that is literally in between your two ears. It causes us to be paralyzed, to procrastinate. It's something that seems to rule not just your business life, but also your home life. And as much as you're afraid of making mistakes, chances are the people around you are also afraid of making mistakes. That's what I found that my perfectionism was doing. Yeah, that I'm afraid of making mistakes. And therefore, I was definitely putting that on other people that I was living with, i.e. children. You better do this right. So if you are one of those, you're working your way out of the pit of perfection, we want to hear how you are doing it, what caused you to discover it, and what things, what tools, what strategies have you used to break through. One for me personally was that I changed the goal. That it's about results, not about perfection. Very similar to Kim Collins there, where it's about getting the job done and getting it done with results, and then test the results. The results will tell me where I can make little tiny improvements and adjustments to help it get better. But never is it going to reach perfection. It's not like I've given up or now I'm mediocre in those areas. No, to be honest with you, I now have prevailed in those areas because at least I'm advancing myself one little step at a time. That's what's important, is that you're continuing to move yourself forward instead of staying stuck in, well, I'm not going to do it until I know I can do it perfectly. So we asked this question of our friends who are watching the show, and we've got some people that are listening and are ready to talk and share with us how they're breaking free from it. So we have Linda Potgieter all the way from the UK. Hi, Linda. How are you today?
Hi, Dani. I'm very well, thanks. How are you?
Good. So perfection. You deal with that one?
Yeah, that's something. Yes, that's something that I am under construction with right now.
I love that statement. Are you having a remodel?
Oh my gosh, like falling apart remodel? Yeah, you can say that.
Well, of course, in a remodel, they have to do the demolition part of the remodel first.
Yeah.
Right? When a kitchen gets remodeled, generally they tear up the floor, they tear up the countertops, maybe tear out the cabinets.
Oh my goodness, it's ugly.
Yeah, it can be ugly. Okay, so what are you doing about it? How are you doing it? Well, actually, before you answer that question, tell me what perfectionism looks like in your life and what was the result of it?
Okay. Well, Dani, perfectionism for me made a control freak out of me. I became this OCD. I didn't even know it. I learned about it, and I with some help, I identified what it was. I didn't even know I was a perfectionist. I was always the one who was saying, no one's perfect, but yet my standards were unattainable. They were so high. But it made me a real control freak because I found that in my business over the 24 years, that's where I found my identity, and I found love through my performance. And so when I did well, I got a lot of recognition, a lot of love. And then, I became such a control freak. You're going to think I'm nuts. You're going to absolutely laugh at me. I used to only do things in even numbers. I was crazy. I used to only sit in the fourth row, in the fourth chair when I went to the movies. I would only do things in even numbers because odd numbers just didn't balance up, and I wouldn't even, if I stepped 3 times on the left, I would have to step 3 on the right, and chewing. It was ridiculous. And I know, I just couldn't believe I became that person. That just was not who I was in my heart. But the biggest thing, Dani, that really overtook my life was the self-condemnation that comes with being a perfectionist. You are always second-guessing yourself. You are never good enough. And that obviously, you understand in your head it comes from the roots of rejection, which I now have completely been freed of, which I'm so grateful for. But you will never, ever, ever reach that goal where you say, you know what, that was a good job. Like, I did good there. You never will get there. The goalposts are always moving out. The self-condemnation is so intense. And, of course, what that means is being so critical on myself, that means I became critical on those closest to me, like my husband and my children. And yeah, that was really, really tough to work through.
I want to know what you mean because, someone is hearing self-condemnation, but they don't really know what that means. So please give me some phrases of what self-condemnation used to say to you.
Well, to say, oh, Linda, you idiot, was like, I heard that in my head 1,000 times a day. I just said, you idiot, like over and over to I didn't even think about it. It was, if I did something and someone said, oh, hang on, it was I would say, okay, great, thanks, and then walk away and just say, you idiot, like, what is wrong with you? Like, you can never get it right. And the criticism was, it's that Dani's like someone else is talking to you. It's like this awful, mean-spirited person is just breaking you down, and it's me. Yeah. And it's me talking to myself like that. And so it was just complete criticism in both ears all day long.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's from you drop something, right? Something as simple as you drop something. It's, Linda, you idiot.
Absolutely. Yeah. You drop something, you knock something over, like just be a normal person, turn around, knock it over, you idiot, what's wrong with you? Wow. Can't get anything right. And the reality is I knocked it over, I was too close to the glass of water, and it was a mistake. And so, of course, what that translates to is when I started having children and my son would knock something over, I was like, what? Didn't you see that? And I started hearing, and that's when I thought, hang on, I started hearing the same things coming out of my mouth that was going in my ears. And that was the most painful but the best wake-up call that I could ever have gotten was when I became a mom.
Yeah, because you start repeating the process. So when you were a kid, were you told that you were an idiot, that you couldn't do anything right?
Oh, yeah. I have an awesome mom and dad who themselves were not given good training in life at all. My mom is a beautiful woman. She was married 4 times. Everyone's got a story, and there was a lot of abuse and violence and aggression in our lives. And yes, I was sent away 6 times between the age of 4 and 12 to go and live with other people. And my gran, who herself was abused a lot in her life, she was an absolute perfectionist, and she was a very house-proud woman. And so, I was told, and we made up before she died. I'm so grateful for that. I'm so grateful for the learning about forgiveness. But there was no room for error. If I didn't do everything perfectly all the time, every single day, she called me a little devil. She called me an idiot. She called me a freak. She didn't know any better. She did the best with what she had based on her awful life and her childhood. Yeah. But by the age of 4, I knew I was an absolute idiot. And so I took that, with me into the rest of my life.
Isn't that crazy that for 40 years of your life, you can be calling yourself something that somebody else didn't know better to call you? Life and death truly is in the power of the tongue. It really is. So what are you doing today to combat that? I think so much, by the way, of sharing more in detail about what perfectionism, what it did to destroy parts of you, as a mom, as a husband, being critical to your husband, which is totally emasculating to a man, and does not produce a wonderful, thriving, harmonious, sexy marriage. No. So what have you done to combat this perfectionism? What's your strategy that you can share today?
Well, Dani, my whole life kind of came spiraling down. 3 years ago, I was 41, and I literally got to the point where everything in my life was breaking. My marriage, my business, my parenting, absolutely everything. And I actually attended a First Steps to Success event in London in February 2013. And this is going to it might sound so simple and so basic, but my first step before I got to that event was I found my identity in my God, and it was my faith that pulled me up, and I realized I don't need to perform well to be loved.
That
was the lie that I led for 41 years.
Yeah.
But the most impact that I've had, crazy enough, is I had to learn the art of encouragement. I had never heard anybody use or speak of or teach the art of encouragement, and it was a skill that I did not have. Although I'm a great motivator, I love people. I am very passionate, very driven, I genuinely have a love for people, but I didn't know how to encourage myself and my husband. I mean, I completely emasculated him with my mouth. It was disgusting. So we've been to 22 of these events where, thanks to your coaching, I actually I'm learning to become an encourager. And there's one very, very, very powerful thing that happened to me just 2 months ago. And my friends keep on saying to me, why do you keep on going back to this event? And here's an example. Is 2 months ago, or when I first went 3 years ago, I met an amazing woman, Diane McCracken. She is just someone who has been a real good friend to me. And 2 months ago, I was actually volunteering at one of the conferences, and I didn't know, I hadn't done for a long time the resource table, and I was doing my usual thing, and I was feeling this choked up, tearful feeling coming up in my throat, trying to be professional and serving people. And I found myself saying again, Linda, you idiot, you're supposed to add that shipping, or what is wrong with you? And then I had to actually leave, and fortunately we had plenty of volunteers, and I went to the back, and I actually was fighting back the tears and just saying, just stop. Like I was talking to like a different person, like stop telling me that, stop speaking to me. And then Diane came to me. I will never for my life will I forget this. And she said in my ears very gently, she said, you be kind to my friend Linda, because she will outdo you in love and kindness.
Wow.
And Dani, I will never forget those words in my life, because today, like every single day, I speak to myself now like I'm a separate person.
Yes.
And I say, hey, you be kind to Linda, because she's amazing, and you love on her. And so I might have come from the other side of crazy now, but now I'm talking.
No, it's not the other side of crazy. It's not the other side of crazy. It's actually biblical. King David encouraged his own soul. He talked to his own soul, telling his soul how he was supposed to act. This is Dani Johnson. We'll continue with more right after this.
The lie of perfectionism may be the driving force behind the choices you make, and you don't even know it. Listen as Dani explains next on The Dani Johnson Show. Did you know you can see Dani Johnson live and in person? Go to DaniJohnson.com and find out about our next live event. First Steps to Success. Register today. Call 866-760-8255 or go to DaniJohnson.com/FSTS.
The whole story of how I went from homeless to millions is right here in this book, First Steps to Wealth. I'd love to give you a free copy of this book. Just dial 888-757-8880. You can get your free copy of this book. It's like a real book, my friend. You can get an ebook copy for free right now, or if you'd like to pay the shipping to get this $15 book to your house, I'd be happy to send it to you. 888-757-8880. Get your copy of First Steps to Wealth today and begin on a brand new path of some great success. Imagine living in a decrepit, unsafe hovel made of waste material on top of old mining tunnels that could explode and sink your home at any moment. Imagine no water to drink, no safe place to raise your children, no food for your starving baby. Imagine that your kids can't learn to read because they have to work to support the family instead of going to school. Could you imagine living in that kind of fear and hopelessness? This is exactly what families are dealing with in the poverty-stricken village of Santa Pancha, Nicaragua. These families can barely meet their basic food, water, and housing needs. We are transforming that village. Be a part of this miracle. I want you to go to the website now and learn how you can help. Go to kingsransom.org and click on Santa Pancha. There you can join with other warriors against poverty and help bring a miraculous transformation to Santa Pancha. That's kingsransom.org, kingsransom.org. But I'm so blessed that I found what is in Grooming the Next Generation for Success. This is a book that is being taught in universities around the world. It's been noted as the best book on parenting that has ever been written. Crazy, if you ask me. But the point is that this thing gets results. Get your copy today, 888-757-8880. Again, that's 888-757-8880. Or go to DaniJohnson.com. That's D-A-N-I Johnson.com. Get your copy today.
And now, back to the Dani Johnson Show.
But Dani, if I'm not perfect, then I'm letting everyone down. And if I'm not perfect, then people are gonna not love me, or I'm not gonna get recognition. Listen, friend, if that is what's going through your head right now, I want you to just think for 1 minute. Think about what you're saying. There was only one perfect one who walked the earth, and they killed him, okay? So no one is perfect, and no one is ever going to be perfect. It's an amazing lie and an amazing, crazy, pathetic perception that is out there that someone can actually be perfect. You don't want to perform to get love. You don't need to perform to get love. Performance-based acceptance is a trap. It's a prison. It's toxic. But when you know who you are, and you know who chose to bring you on this earth, and it wasn't your parents. It was your God, the creator of the heavens and the earth. He's the one that chose to bring you here. And he has a plan and a purpose for you here. And that plan and purpose is not being a perfectionist. That plan and purpose is for you to know him and to learn who you are, who he made you to be, and to recognize and see and be filled with joy based on what that is, and not sizing yourself up to somebody else, whether it be your looks or your size or your height or the color of your skin or the size of your nose. That is useless stuff. The things that really matter, your heart connecting with truth, the truth of what you were made for, who you were made to be. And here on the Dani Johnson Show, we help you to define success for you. You see, there's lots of people with lots of money, but they're miserable. They have no idea who they are. Their identity is wrapped up in their money. Not all of them, but many of them. Others are driven by it, and it's ripped up their family life 4 different times. You don't want that. You can have money, and you can have an awesome family, and you can have good health. You can have it all if you choose the right paths, if you choose to be persistent. You choose to be as consistent as you possibly can, and you choose to change the goal from perfection to results. You want results. You want the job done. You want results. So we're talking today about perfection and how to come out of it, because perfection creates a control freak who is a procrastinator. And you miss out on opportunity when you are a control freak procrastinator. You miss out. You just miss out, and your life will not be as full as you want it to be. So we have Shannon from Florida on the line. Shannon, welcome to the show.
Hi, thank you, Dani.
So what about you? Like, how does perfection look like in your life, and how are you combating it?
Well, thank God. I'm listening to Linda and nodding my head, yes, 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 yes. Mm-hmm. I could relate to so many things that she was saying, but I am free of perfectionism. Amen. And so those were chains that were enslaving me. I had a whole lot of issues, and that was definitely one of the big ones. And so I'm a much happier and healthier person because I let go of perfectionism.
What caused you to let go of perfectionism?
The same, in a similar way, the same as Linda. I was saying so many negative things to myself, and one day I just realized I was getting on my own nerves because it was now projecting to my children. It was projecting to my husband. And literally, I mean, there was a lot of work that led up to that. It's always about, the personal development and just really wanting and desiring to change, and that, I don't know, it just manifests in your life if you're really seeking it with all your heart.
Yep.
And one morning I was crazy, everyone getting ready for school, and I'm yelling at the kids, and I know my husband was still home and that he hadn't gotten out of bed yet, and I'm sure he heard me, and it was like a routine. Every morning I'm yelling at everybody to make sure we all get together and get everything together, and everything is right and perfect, and the kids, they're not being perfect, of course, because they're little. And I just thought to them, I'm getting sick of hearing you fuss early in the morning. There has to be a better way.
Wow, that is so awesome. So it's almost like it was an out-of-body experience as far as you got to see yourself and hear yourself and watch yourself in this control freak perfectionist morning and went, this is done. I'm done with this. This is Dani Johnson. We'll continue with more after this.
Stay right here for more of The Dani Johnson Show.
Hi, I'm Dani Johnson. The most common question I get usually are from people who are trying to juggle their life. They've got kids who are involved in all kinds of activities. They've got business or their job, finances, trying to get out of debt, plus all their church activities and all the volunteer activities. And they're pulling their hair out going, how do I juggle this all? Man, I once lived just like that until I learned Time Secrets. Time Secrets showed me how to be able to cut my hours from 100 hours a week that I was working down to 20 hours a week and tripled my income as a direct result with what I learned. Time Secrets also showed me how to get my priorities in order, which healed up my marriage. And I became a mother that I was proud of versus becoming the mother I didn't want to be. And so if you feel like your world is running around in all kinds of different circles, you can fix that. Call 888-757-8880. Again, 888-757-8880 for Time Secrets.
Prior to getting to Dani Johnson's First Steps to Success, my husband and I were completely broke. We just filed bankruptcy. We lost our home to foreclosure and we were on food stamps. After the second day of her event, we figured out where all our money was going. We got ourselves out of debt in 3 months. We paid off $18,000 worth of debt and are completely debt-free. And now we've finally created a life of our dreams. We've made a six-figure business and we're just doing everything that we want. So if you're thinking about coming to First Steps to Success, you've got to make it happen. Sign up right now and make sure you don't miss it.
Prior to plugging into DaniJohnson.com, I was hopelessly lost in addiction. My relationships with people, coworkers, family, friends failed. I was struggling under the bondage of debt, and I had no clear vision or purpose for my life. After taking my first steps to success, I've been able to pay off $7,000 in debt in about 4.5 months. I have a clear vision and purpose for my life. I can honestly say that my addictions are a thing of the past. If you're interested in changing your life in whatever way, in whatever area, you need to log into DaniJohnson.com and you need to be at the next First Steps to Success.
Prior to coming to First Steps, I was miserable. I never talked to people because I thought I was shy, I thought I was boring, and I thought that I was destined to be alone forever. After coming to First Steps to Success, I broke through all of those lies. I built confidence and I used the skills that I've learned there to get myself an amazing job where I will be put quickly into a position of leadership. So if you're ready to find out who you are, why you are the way you are, and how to get new skills to dramatically change your life, you need to join me at the very next First Steps to Success. No excuses, no delays, get registered now.
Hi, my name is Paul. I'm from Massachusetts. And before plugging into DaniJohnson.com, I was buried under a sea of self-doubt, fear, and my communication skills were non-existent. Sales non-existent as well. But after attending First Steps to Success, my sales have quadrupled, My fear has been lifted and my relationships are better than ever because I communicate better than ever. If you want your life to turn around, all your dreams start coming to fruition, you are going to be at first steps to success.
Prior to plugging in to Dani Johnson, my husband and I were drowning in a sea of debt. I had broken relationships all around me of the ones that I cared most about, and I had started a company that was losing more money than it was making. And after plugging into Dani Johnson, we have paid off $196,000 in 13 months. My company has grown 90%, and I have relationships that I could never have even imagined with the ones I care most about around me. So I don't know about you, maybe you're making all the money you need to, maybe you're doing great, maybe your relationships are phenomenal, but if they're not, I encourage you to get to the next first steps to success.
And now, back to the Dani Johnson Show.
So there you are. You're screaming at the kids. It's early in the morning. Everyone's got to get themselves to school, right? Yeah, you know, your 5-year-old has a bedhead. You know, someone spilled their milk, dripped it all over their shirt when they're supposed to be getting ready for school, right? The bed still isn't made. The dog just threw up, right? And yet the clock is ticking. You got to make it happen. And you're screaming at your kids. Hurry up. Don't spill that. Did you brush your hair? How come your bed isn't made? This is not the way to live. But unfortunately, this is how many people do it. And I love what Shannon just finished telling us, that she almost had like this experience where she was getting on her own nerves because what she was doing wasn't working. So Shannon, how did you fix it? Like, was it like the next day that you just said, I'm not going to scream. I'm going to stop asking for my kids to be perfect. What was it? Like, what was step one?
It was almost literally, and I'm sure this because that's many years ago now. Mm-hmm. I'm sure it wasn't exactly overnight. And you have to work. I still have to work on parts of that.
Yep.
But I claimed I will have a peaceful home.
Yes.
My children will not leave our home in the morning anxious.
And stressed out and worried and fearful because we are the ones teaching them to be that way.
Yes, ma'am.
So true. So true. Oh, I love it. That's amazing. I'm proud of you, Shannon. I really am. I really, really am. In fact, I want to speak to that for a minute because, I just want to speak to that for a minute. I actually just instructed someone to do that very thing about a week ago. When you see striving happening in your house, when you see contention between you and your spouse, when you can identify that, there's no peace here, like everything's stress. I remember when my God convicted my heart about me constantly rushing my kids. Yeah, come on, we got to go. Come on, right? And we were running everywhere, right? We were running to get to school. We're running home from school. I mean, it was just like, like the speed was crazy for this little 2-year-old, this little 3-year-old, this 5-year-old, this 7-year-old, little legs. Come on, we got to go. We got to get through Walmart, whatever it is that we got to go. And God completely convicted my heart about what I was teaching my kids and the kind of lifestyle, the kind of routine, the kind of pace that I was teaching them with my rushing, with my pace, as though I had like 20 million other things to do that were more important than teaching my kids to walk in peace. What's more important than that? What's more important than to teach your children to find their pace? Come on. You could probably think of 1,000 things, but here's what I know. Stressed out, striving, contentious adults are not fun to live with. They just are not. They have lots of issues, lots of problems, tons of stress. They have heart problems. They have high blood pressure problems. They have relationship issues. Therefore, they have financial issues. They have work issues. Why? Probably because their mom did the same thing I did with my little kids when they were really super little until God convicted me that day. Like, no more. And I did the same thing that Shannon's talking about. I began to speak to it. Like, first of all, Father, forgive me. Forgive me for how I am training my kids. This is wrong. This is wrong. Well, first of all, that changed my stress level completely because I stopped rushing them. I started slowing down that pace and teaching them to walk in peace. I began to speak that into my house. And I started to bind up contention and strife and that it's not welcome here and that this is a house of peace. This is a house of harmony. And that's how we will live. And you have to fight for that. You really do. You have to set up the boundaries for that. And you have to cultivate peace in your house, cultivate the harmony in your house, cultivate the right pace in your house so that your house is a sanctuary, a place of rest for people instead of a place of contention where they never, ever want to come back to. Man, awesome. We're talking about perfectionism, control freakism that leads to procrastination. Yeah. It leads to striving. It leads to negative self-talk. That self-talk where you're beating yourself up. Gosh, I did that for years and years and years. It doesn't do you any good. It's not going to do you any good today or tomorrow or in the future. Oh, I love it. Okay, so we've got Eddie Brzezinski from Pennsylvania. Eddie, welcome to the Dani Johnson Show.
Oh, it's Edie.
Oh, Edie. Hi.
Hi.
It's a cute name. And you have a great little voice to go with it. Okay, so what about you? Perfectionism.
Well, I put on Facebook that perfectionist is enemy of the good.
Yeah.
And perfectionism is an enemy of the good because it really steals the good away from a life. It could ruin a life.
Tell me how you know that. Tell me how you understand that. Because in order for you to write that, you didn't read that somewhere else. You know this.
What's that?
I said in order for you to say that and to have written that, it's because you know it. It's not because you read it from something else. It's just something you know. Okay, so I want you to tell me how you know that. Yep.
I know that because it started in school. Like when I was in grade school, kindergarten even.
Mm-hmm.
I got bullied all the way from kindergarten to 12th grade.
Wow.
By different students who didn't like themselves very much either.
Yeah.
So I thought, I'm getting bullied here. I need to do something to compensate. So I became a perfectionist. And it put so much pressure on me the other way, and it stole a lot of good from my life. Afraid to fail, afraid to take chances, risks, start something new, even start a job, just learning new things. Very hard for me.
Yeah.
But I'm learning. I'm still growing in the Lord, and the Lord is speaking to me to go easy on myself for once, because I'm such a perfectionist.
Okay, now let me speak to that real quick. There's something so beautiful about this. You said, I am such a perfectionist. I want you to stop saying that.
Okay.
Stop saying that. Stop feeding that by saying I'm such a perfectionist. Number 2, I want you to look at God from a different perspective. As a father, you were a little kid that was bullied, right?
Yes.
Was there ever anybody that stood up for you any time through those 12 years?
No.
Was there ever a moment that you wish that somebody would protect you?
Oh, yes. I wanted that from anybody that would. I would want that, but that did not happen.
But you just finished telling me that you've been growing in the Lord, and He has been speaking to you about how you're speaking to yourself.
Oh, He has. Yes.
Yes.
God has protected me.
Yes.
God is protecting me now.
He is.
Then I didn't realize that.
Exactly. And so I want you to see this. If you saw a little kid being bullied, what would you do?
I would love on them, protect them, go over and intervene and say to them that they are worth it, they're worthy, they're of value, and they're loved by God, and I want to love them too.
That's what I want you telling yourself. When you pick yourself apart and you, in fear, make decisions, I can't do that, I'm afraid it's not going to work, it's not going to happen for me, right? This is when you have to intervene for yourself. Because you know the answer, right? You know the answer. As a kid who was bullied, stop bullying yourself. and start speaking life into yourself. You're worth it. You're valuable. Your God loves you. And what do you say to the bully? Shut up and get out of here. Get out of here. You're not welcome here. You're not wanted here. This is a safe place. This is a place of value. And if you want to come to the understanding that you are a person of value and that you are loved, you won't want to bully anymore. You won't need to try to prove yourself with your brute strength. You would understand that you're already accepted by the only one that really matters. You are accepted. You're beautiful. You're smart. You're tender. And I know you're scared, which is why you try to hurt people. So if you want to hang out here, you're going to have to change. And the first thing you're going to start is by saying, I'm sorry. If you literally saw yourself to protect yourself in a healthy way, not self-protection in a bad way, but to stand up for yourself, to encourage yourself. King David did this. He encouraged his own soul. He encouraged his own soul. He reminded himself, even in the midst of, he would say how he felt. I feel like I'm trapped. I feel like the enemy is getting away with it. God, you're my Redeemer. Help me. You've helped me before. I know you will help me again. Or he even said, why are you downcast, oh my soul? And then he goes on to just remind and say and confess with his mouth the power of his God and how he has rescued him in the past and how he has prevailed. So encourage yourself. Don't own the words, I am a perfectionist. Own the words that I am delivered and free. This is Dani Johnson. We'll continue with more after this.
Coming up next, Dani demonstrates how perfectionism is actually preventing your success. Get the full story next on The Dani Johnson Show.
You want to succeed, right? But you do not want to fail God at the same time. There is a way to succeed from a biblical perspective, and it's far greater than anything you could ever imagine. Over 500 scriptures I studied to study money, everything that the Bible said about money. That's in the first couple chapters of Spirit-Driven Success. Not to mention leadership, working with people, growing a career, being used mightily in the marketplace, which is where Abraham, God used him in the marketplace. And Joseph, God used him in the marketplace. Moses, God used him in the marketplace. Daniel, Solomon, really all of the greats of faith, most of the greats of faith throughout the Bible, they all were in the marketplace, and God wants to show you how you can be used mightily by him in the marketplace. Right here, Spirit-Driven Success is where all of my notes are on how you can do that. 888-757-8880. Again, 888-757-8880. Get your copy of Spirit-Driven Success today.
My name is Andris and I'm from Latvia. Prior to plugging into DaniJohnson.com, I was a struggling English teacher back home. I had a language school that I started when I was 21 and had grown it to be pretty okay in my city. But at the same time, I had acquired a debt of $60,000. In a matter of 8 to 9 months, I got rid of my debt, and by 2011, we had our first $1 million year. This has been amazing. We grew our school from about 100 students to 2,000 students, and I can only highly recommend for you to come to the next event and be part of this community and learn the tools that will help you to succeed.
Prior to plugging into DaniJohnson.com, my family and I were hemorrhaging under the pressures of debt. Since attending First Steps to Success in January of 2014, my family and I have paid off over $147,000 in 19 months. We're completely consumer debt-free. We have restored relationships, and our business is growing at a rate of 15% at every event. Your next step is to sign up for the next First Steps to Success and start creating your own story.
My name is Jeff Conyers, and prior to First Steps to Success, I was a struggling business owner. I had discovered that my business account went negative $5,000, and I realized that I did not have a business plan and I needed to do something. Fast forward to 1 year after, I have now created, just by implementing implementing the tools at First Step to Success, over $50,000, created another business, improved my personal and business relationships. Man, it's like the story is forever changing, and it just gets better and better. I don't know about you or what you're going through, but I would highly recommend getting to First Steps to Success.
Prior to plugging into First Steps to Success, we were drowning under a mountain of debt. We were heading to divorce court. We had failing businesses and toxic relationships. Since plugging into First Steps to Success, our marriage has been restored. We have paid off over $56,000 in 11 months. We've helped our community pay off over $300,000 in 14 months. My business has grown in over 600% in 4 months. And for the first time, I could say I'm just loving life. I have great relationships. So if you are fine where you are, then this event is not for you. But if you're ready to reach your goal and to change your life, then I highly recommend that you get registered for the next event.
Hi, my name is Jill Kearns. I'm from Chicago, Illinois. Prior to coming to First Steps to Success, my husband and I were struggling financially and were hurting in our relationship a lot. We needed more time together, and we just were struggling with that because of the finances. And so since plugging in, we've actually paid off over $280,000 in debt. We're completely debt-free, and more than anything else, the look on my husband's face of relief and excitement about where our future lies, and the traveling and the fun, enjoyable times that we'll get to spend together as a family is totally worth it. So if you want to have better relationships with your significant other, your children, if you have a desire to be completely debt-free and released from that bondage for whatever reason, whatever the burdens are, your next step is to get to First Steps to Success right now.
So prior to getting started to DaniJohnson.com, I was a college dropout. I was working a bottom-of-the-barrel type job. I started plugging into her training. I've skyrocketed through the ranks of corporate America. I've tripled my income in the last 5 years. That's all fine and dandy, but it wasn't, there's a part of me that had a part missing, so I ended up using Dani's prospecting skills, and I ended up meeting the love of my life. Since then, we've paid off $32,000 of debt since October 2014. So get here now. This is the greatest thing ever. You have to see this. The skills and strategies Dani teaches are unbelievable. They totally took someone like me with no education and helped me just like multiply my efforts. So you need to be here.
And now, back to the Dani Johnson Show.
Dani, what can I say? I'm a perfectionist. My mom was a perfectionist. My grandmother was a perfectionist. That's just who I am. That's just the way it is. No, it's not the way it is. Listen, and that's not the way you are, and you don't need to own those words. If you want to have true success in life, you're going to have to ditch this thing called perfectionism. Perfectionism does not lead to where you want to go. Why do people do this? Or they're afraid of making mistakes, afraid of failing. Well, don't you understand the formula to success? The road to success is paved with failures. Without failure, there is no success. Come on, we all know the story of Thomas Edison. 10,000 mistakes he made before he created that light bulb. 10,000 tries. 10,000 mistakes. 10,000 failures. The road to success is paved with failures. So those that succeed are those who have failed more than everybody else has. So perfectionism actually keeps you away from your destiny. It keeps you from the success you want in your relationships at home and at work. It keeps you from the success that you desire in your finances and with your career, your reputation, with your physical body and your health. So the opposite of perfectionism is not making no mistake. Is not failure from a bad perspective. So perfectionism doesn't lead to success. It keeps you away from success. If you choose to give it your best shot and you fail, the failure is there to teach you something. You know, there's a philosophy that my husband and I have, and I love this one. And he honestly was like the first one to verbalize it in this way, but it's kind of an attitude that he and I have had. And here's what it is. So whenever he has had or I have had a huge failure, and we have had tons of them. We've had so many failures, it's ridiculous. But each one, it's like this. That thing is going to pay me for the rest of my life. That was my education. You see, neither he nor I went to college. We didn't go to university. We don't have degrees in economics or finance or any of that stuff. Obviously didn't need to go to college for any of those things. But when we've made some bad mistakes, big mistakes, some ignorant, some prideful, some just idiotic, some just because of a lack of knowledge, some because we trusted the wrong thing and the wrong people, okay? Trusted, period, the wrong thing and the wrong people instead of trusting God. When we've made those mistakes, we make sure and make a list of things that we've learned from that mistake. What was the lesson in this? Because this lesson will shape us for the rest of our lives. What's the knowledge that we've gained by this costly mistake? Failures, you've heard this, are not final, but failures are feedback. That's what failures are. Failures are feedback. And without feedback, you cannot succeed. That's all failures are. It's just feedback. So look for the feedback that you can get only from failures. Edison got feedback from 10,000 failures. And all of that feedback then led him directly to accomplishing the very thing that is lighting up your house right now, the very thing that's lighting up this studio right now, the very thing that lights your car and everything around you. Come on, our streets, everything. So imagine where we would be without electricity if he was a perfectionist. Obviously, he wasn't a perfectionist. Obviously, he understood the power of failure being a feedback loop. So we're talking about breaking the habit of perfectionism. We're talking about strategies that others have used to push them past that to getting results. Just like Edison, he got the result because he saw failure as feedback. What do you see it as? Rachel Jones joining us from Arizona, long time client and friend. Hi, how are you?
Hey, Dani. Good to talk to you.
Good to talk to you too. Man, girl, you have been with us since 2007?
Yep, August.
That's amazing. Yeah, so you just had your 7th anniversary. Congratulations. All right, so talk to us about your journey with perfectionism.
Well, perfectionism has definitely kept me from a lot of things, doing a lot of new things, and I've not wanted to try them because I don't think I'll be successful or may not do it right.
Seems to be a theme.
And it's also kept me from going back to do a lot of things that I used to enjoy because I'm not as good in that area as I used to be, and I don't want to start again at a worse spot and fight back. And so I used to kind of cope with all of that with, eating food and watching a lot of TV. And just came to a point that obviously none of that was helping with that. And so, but I've been actually just, instead of that, I've been praying more. I've been trying to spend more time with God. And just one thing that I kept on wanting to do was kind of getting some indoor gardening going, just a simple thing. Yeah. And I just jumped into it because I've done enough research. So I just started, and just even a simple thing like that, I'm getting some experience in something new, and I'm not worrying about having it perfect. And so that's just something that I've been working on lately to kind of just show myself in another area that it just doesn't have to be perfect for me to make progress.
Yeah, no, that is a really good strategy. Always starting small, right? Doing something small that leads to another step, that leads to another step. You begin to build that confidence that you can do something and not worry about failure. That's really awesome, Rachel. That really, really is. It's very powerful because what it's doing is it's combating that perfectionism voice that's saying, no, you can't. It's not going to turn out perfect. It's not going to be right. So when it's something that is so low, what's the...
Low risk?
Yeah. This like super low risk, you're actually training your brain to think differently because it is low risk, right? So something like, starting the little garden in your house, that's awesome. Yeah. Yeah.
And the plants are awesome because they don't care if I'm jacked up. I just water them and they grow. So it's really good for me.
And it's rewarding, isn't it?
It is. It is.
Yep.
It's totally rewarding.
Yep.
So, and I don't have to be perfect to do it. And so I'm trying to apply that and realizing I can apply that in other areas of my life.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So smart, Rachel. That's an awesome strategy. Really, really proud of you. Thanks for sharing. That's like so good. Okay, so I want you to take that because that is just really real right there. It really is. It's really, really real. Starting small and making small points of progress is what helps to bring success. You know, we somehow have been taught through this such hype media that the hyped world that we live in, the hype country we live in, right? Like if I can't have it big, then I don't want it at all. That's a bunch of nonsense. Then what happens? If I can't have overnight weight loss, if I can't have an overnight, great body, then forget it, I'm not starting. Okay, so what do? We're gonna go eat some junk food and sit in front of the TV instead. This is not helping you, okay? Same with, well, if I can't make $1 million, inside of a year, then I'm not even going to start. You're hurting yourself. But it is this. If I could just show up. I'm just going to show up. I'm just going to dabble. I'm going to dibble. I'm going to dabble. And the next day I'm going to dibble and a dabble. I'm going to chip away a little bit at a time. Give yourself a timeline. I'm going to do it for this. I'm going to learn. I just want to learn. I just want to step forward. I just want to go. That starts to break the habit of perfectionism, especially when you're starting with something that is super low risk. So something that's different. Maybe it's something different than business. Maybe it's something different than anything that causes stress, but it could be a hobby, like in Rachel's case, starting a garden in your house. How awesome is that, right? It could be anything. Maybe you go learn how to paint something. Maybe you take a cooking class and you start to learn how to cook, and you go in there with the intention of making the biggest mess out of everybody and screwing the whole thing up. That's how I've taken pressure off of me. Like, I'm just going to make a big mess, and I don't really care what anybody thinks. I'm going to learn how to do this. This is Dani Johnson. We'll continue with more right after this.
Be sure to tell a friend about the Dani Johnson Show. It just might be the key to the breakthrough they need.
The whole story of how I went from homeless to millions is right here in this book, First Steps to Wealth. I'd love to give you a free copy of this book. Just dial 888-757-8880. You can get your free copy of this book. It's like a real book, my friend. You can get an ebook copy for free right now, or if you'd like to pay the shipping to get this $15 book to your house, I'd be happy to send it to you. 888-757-8880. Get your copy of First Steps to Wealth today and begin on a brand new path of some great success. Imagine living in a decrepit, unsafe hovel made of waste material on top of old mining tunnels that could explode and sink your home at any moment. Imagine no water to drink, no safe place to raise your children, no food for your starving baby. Imagine that your kids can't learn to read because they have to work to support the family instead of going to school. Could you imagine living in that kind of fear and hopelessness? This is exactly what families are dealing with in the poverty-stricken village of Santa Pancha, Nicaragua. These families can barely meet their basic food, water, and housing needs. We are transforming that village. Be a part of this miracle. I want you to go to the website now and learn how you can help. Go to kingsransom.org and click on Santa Pancha. There you can join with other warriors against poverty and help bring a miraculous transformation to Santa Pancha. That's kingsransom.org, kingsransom.org.
My name's Erin Hudson, and I'm from Huntington Beach, California. I just have to share with you, I never thought I'd be up here in a million years, and I have to tell you, my story is not my story. My story is to help each one of you, to give you a little bit more hope. And as I share with you my story, I apologize up front, I get really emotional. We have been through hell and back. And I share this with you again to really give you hope, okay? Prior to coming to First Steps, we had filed for bankruptcy in 2010. I was a broken woman. My marriage was in a downward spiral. My kids were completely out of control. My business ruled my life night and day. And then I found Dani Johnson. Since attending First Steps to Success in July of 2012, my marriage has been restored. My kids are now the most respectable, loving children to one another and to their parents. We never traveled anywhere. We now travel around the world and have traveled with men and youth that we consider close friends. We've gone to Belize the last 2 years, and I've been able to share with my children and show them how to serve others that are in more need than any of us happen to be. On top of that, our biggest accomplishment yet, I would have to say, is last month, we paid off the last of our debt, and we paid off in the last 2 years and 2 months, $892,000. Wait, hold on, and some cents. $892,522 of debt, and we are now officially business and personal debt free. I have to say, this core report that Dani's going to equip you with today is going to change you. You're going to become a phenomenal champion communicator. And just with what she's going to teach you this afternoon, we're projected to hit $1 million. And I know it's because of what she's going to teach you in this next portion. And without further ado, let's go ahead and introduce my mentor and coach, America's favorite millionaire, Dani Johnson.
This is the Dani Johnson Show.
Well, I certainly hope that maybe you took a nice strong look in the mirror, and maybe today you found out why you still haven't started that business, or why you still haven't started that workout plan or that new eating plan, why you haven't started cleaning out your closet. Could be because you've got that nice little characteristic called perfectionism. That characteristic is not great. You can combat it. You can overcome it. You can make the choice today by starting small and making progress. Progress is important. So what is the thing that you're going to do today that you've been putting off, that you've been procrastinating because you're afraid you're not going to do it right, or if it can't be big enough, then you don't want it at all? That is not going to help you to succeed. I know you learned that today. So what will you do today? You're going to start that business. You're going to clean out that closet. You're going to start that workout program. Again, it's one commitment. It's today. Okay? Then start with tomorrow. Start small and build your confidence on the small things. And you will have small failures, but guess what? Failure is feedback. That's what it is. Failure is feedback. It's telling you where the progress needs to be tweaked. That's all. It just tells you something. Okay? And that's all about learning. And if you learn, you will grow. And if you're learning, you will succeed as long as you are moving yourself ahead. Yes. So perfectionism. If you enjoyed today, please come over and tell us. We would love it if you would come to our website, DaniJohnson.com. Click on watch. You'll find today's show. You can watch it again. And you can comment right there at the bottom. Just scroll down to the bottom. You can leave us a comment right there. And more importantly than leave us in a comment, go share it with somebody. Share it with somebody. There are people out there that are completely tormented with this. You heard the stories, and they're tormenting their own children and their spouses as a direct result. I thought it was quite interesting. It was nothing but women that called in today on this one. And several confessions about how they emasculated their husbands and their sons with this thing called perfectionism. Don't let the media get the best of you, trying to sell you of having a perfect body and having a perfect marriage and having a perfect business and being a perfect person. Certainly don't let the church sell you into being the perfect Christian or Catholic or Baptist or Protestant or whatever, or Jew for that matter. Perfection is a trap. It's toxic. It's not for you. Freedom, friend. Freedom is what is for you. And in your freedom, you'll accomplish great things. So great that it'll cause others to make themselves go, how in the world did you do that? So please share today's show with somebody else, as well as, by the way, we have a gift for you. If you want to succeed in every area of your life, we've got a book for you. It's called First Steps to Wealth. It's a real book. You can get your free copy right now if you go to DaniJohnson.com. That's DANI Johnson.com. You'll see a place where you can get your free copy of it, or you can call our office, 866-760-8255. Again, that's 866-760-8255. Pick up your copy. Start with page 1. And then go to page 2. And then go to page 3. Don't sit there with the fear of, but I might not finish it. So what? Get what you can get out of it. Let the pages drive you and pull you all the way to the end. As you apply the information, you're going to get so many results that you are going to scream at the top of the mountains going, you got to get this book. It changed my life. All right. God bless you. And we will talk to you tomorrow.
Did you hear that last segment? Do you know someone else who needs to hear it? Go to DaniJohnson.com, find today's show, and share it online. This has been the Dani Johnson Show. If you want to hear more, visit us at DaniJohnson.com.